Hey guys, hi, this is Akash Sharma and you're watching CafeIO. We will be talking about how to install MySQL in Windows 11 today. This is the latest version of Windows operating system and also the latest version of MySQL. Alright, so we will get that started. The version of MySQL is 8. So all you need to do is just go to MySQL website, just type maybe MySQL in Google, go to the website and then we'll see how to download it. Although I've pre-downloaded the installers because the files are big, but I'll still try to see that. So you click on download and then you go to MySQL Community GPL downloads. And in there you have all the options. You can install MySQL installer for Windows, which will just again take you to a page which allows you to select which installer you want. And in this case, you can select either of them and then you can probably go back and then just download the workbench, right? This is the workbench that this is the kind of GUI which allows you to interact with MySQL databases. It doesn't matter where your MySQL is installed or hosted, this will allow you to interact with the DB, and you can just take the first version and go ahead and download it. I've already downloaded it. Here are the two files. You'll get two files if you have selected the offline installer. The web installer files would be smaller, but the basic MySQL installer is roughly about 435 MB and the workbench is relatively small at 42 MB. So we'll just get started. So you double click on it. If you're on Windows 11 or 10 and you have UAC enabled, it should be giving you a pop-up just for permissions. I think we'll just wait till it gives me that. Alright, let's just minimize this. Does take a while to load itself in memory and then it'll have its own sweet spot. Yeah, this is what I was trying to say. So you can just say yes and move forward. It'll just collect a little bit of information and take its own sweet time, and then you can probably get started in a couple of seconds depending on what's your configuration. It does this few times depending on how your setup is, what sort of installation you've selected. And this is the key area, right? This is what we probably want to talk about. I'm just going to make it a little bigger. So you can select the developer default. You can go to a server only option, which is more of a, it's just the DB server, right? There's no client. You'll have to work with clients and it can be in a distributed environment, or you can select client, which just install the clients. But there will be no database itself, and this is probably not the right option if you want to practice DB on your machine. This is the full version. You probably don't want to do that, or you can do that depending on what your needs are, or you can just manually select custom, right? So I'm just going to go custom to show you all the options. And typically what I want is I will want MySQL server, I will want MySQL workbench. I'm just gonna move it in, and I do work with Visual Studio sometimes, so I can just have my Visual Studio also in. Okay, I don't have the installation for maybe Visual Studio, so it will not allow me. The shell is something you definitely want, and the router is also something you would be interested in. From a connector standpoint, depending on what programming languages you use in your machine, .NET, Java, C++, or ODBC or Python, you can install that. I'm just going to take the ODBC one and it's good idea to take the x64 and x86 version as well. And then I'll take the connector for Python because that is something which I have in my machine. The documentation is purely optional. It does say that it has a failing requirement. Python is not installed, but I can just ignore and move forward. You can have some sample databases, it will install it, but I'm not going to do that. Documentation is something I do want to install. So this is the set. I have the products, MySQL server, the workbench, shell, router, ODBC connector, Python connector, and the documentation. Just gonna click next, and you can probably specify the path of it. I already have a workbench installation or the path installation, so I'm going to very quickly just go here and probably delete the folder just to be a little safe. I don't think it really matters that much, but I'm gonna play it safe and just delete the folder here. Yeah, there was something inside. I don't care really what it was. Just gonna go back and forward just for the installer to take that change effect, and then you should be able to see this. If you see anything else which says apart from ready to install, and it could be because of some networking setup, it could be because of libraries not available, like language not available, If you believe it is safe to ignore, like my machine does not have Python 3.0 separately, it's part of Anaconda installation, so you got to configure it a bit, but this should be good to go. The moment you do execute, it's gonna just take its time and do the installation. And during the installation, what it is doing is it's just copying the files, it's breaking up, installing the ports, just doing the setup on your machine. Right? This does take a while before you could move forward. So while it works, I'm just going to talk about these things. The next step is product configuration, where you actually define the database, right? You'll have to say how it runs. For example, does it runs as a Windows service, or you want to run it at startup, or you want to change the default ports, or maybe you want to have IDs and passwords and those sort of things. So this is the product configuration, and once you do that, you can just probably move forward and do the installation complete. These two steps must be done. The first is installation, is just installation, but the second is more of configuring the database product itself. So we are just going to wait, probably just fast forward this bit a little bit so that you guys just don't get bored with this. So we'll wait till the installer is complete and its workbench is done. So I think the rest of the stuff should be really quickly. Server took, well, really less time than the workbench, which is interesting. And it's stuck at 99. Let's just see how long it takes. Wow, this is good. All right, now things should move faster. It does not appear to be the case. I've never actually benchmarked it. I've never seen how much time it takes. I usually just reach to this stage and minimize it and do something else. But apparently it is taking some time. Meanwhile, let's just bring up some system statistics and see how much infra it is consuming. Not a lot, really. Nothing. I don't see it consuming everything. Okay, my CPU is at 100%, which is very weird. I think the 72% utilization is purely from the streaming service and browser recording the whole screen and all that. And that could be one of the reasons why this is. But nevertheless, I'm just gonna probably stop sharing for a second, and then maybe it could go a little faster to free up some more resources on the machine. All right. Stop video. Okay.